Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to JOECMDRAWZ and welcome back to a new Pokemon video. So today, I designed a new form for Combee. I like Combee a lot and I think it deserves a new form or at least some sort of upgrade. So if you want to see how I create this cool new upgrade, stick around. Okay, so Combee. Let's get into Combee's base stats before I start showing you my initial sketches, developed designs and the final illustration that you saw at the beginning. Combee is a pretty lackluster Pokemon. I like Combee a lot. I think it's pretty cute and it's a pretty interesting and a pretty recognizable Gen 4 Pokemon. But unfortunately, Combee just by itself is pretty lackluster. I mean, if we just look at its base stats right now, base 30 HP is just absolutely terrible. Base 30 attack, you can't do anything with that. Its defense is slightly better at 42. Its special attack is like just awful. It's the same as its attack, which is 30. Like you can't do much with that at all. Its special defense is pretty decent, same as its defense, which is 42. But it's just not that great at all. And the best stat that it actually has is base 70 speed. So at least that's somewhat decent. At least some of its other stats should, or at least could have been in the yellow at least, to make it a halfway decent Pokemon. Not an amazing one, but at least not something that's in the dog shit tier of no one wants to use it at all. Now on the other hand, Vespiquen is a much better Pokemon. It's got much better stats, it's got a much wider move pool, it's got, you know, all the stuff that would make Combee great if it had that, but it just doesn't. Its base stat total coming up at only just 244. That's lower than base, like first form base starter Pokemon, which usually start around about 300, 320 base stats. Combee is pathetically weak. I mean, I'm looking at its moveset list in Sword and Shield right now. I mean, Bug Bite, Gust, Struggle Bug, and Sweet Send are all learnt at level 1. It's just ungodly terrible with no kind of like type coverage at all. TM moves, it can only learn Snore, which is kind of bad because you really need to be like asleep for that. And Combee just does not have the defenses to kind of like make use of any kind of like sleep, even if it does get put to sleep. The best move it can learn, like in terms of bug coverage, is Bug Buzz and Struggle Bug, which can kind of like mitigate some special damage, but it's just not tanky enough to kind of survive any of those hits to rack up the the special attack drops. The other move that can learn is Dual Wing Beat, but which is a 40 base power flying move, which just isn't that strong at all. Combee seriously needs some help, and that's basically all it gets. Sorry if you just heard that. It's even in Sword and Shield, its move pool is just pathetically just kind of like strapped for any sort of type coverage. On top of that, it being a bug flying type is just ungodly terrible. Like the move, like the type combination, sorry, isn't inherently that bad. There are some good bug flying types, like Butterfree for example. At least that's somewhat decent. But for something like Combee, it's just terrible. So, like I said, I've said multiple times in these videos, when I take a lackluster Pokemon and give them either an upgrade or an evolution or a Mega Evolution or a Gigantamax form in case of, sometimes in case of Sunflora, like last time, these Pokemon desperately need somebody to give them something that, they should have gotten ages ago. At least Combee should have gotten a male-only evolution. It gets Vespiquen, and I get the whole like worker bees kind of thing and Vespiquen, but honestly, they're not strong enough to protect a Vespiquen anyway, even if there are a million of them. So, me and a friend of mine, we like Pokemon a lot, we talk about it a lot, and we discuss a lot of ideas, and we were talking about Combee, and we said, Combee is really cool, and we like it a lot, as well as Vespiquen, but it needs a little bit of an extra push. It needs something else, a new evolution, a new form change or something to help it boost up its stats to actually make it usable, because I reckon if it had better stats and maybe better typing and some at least more coverage, people would actually want to use Combee. So that's what I did. That's what I've designed. So if I just hide this for now, I'll just show you some initial sketches here. Initially here, just to start off with, this is just kind of like a block of, I don't know where my head was at really. I was just trying to think of, okay, what upgrade can I give to Combee? What else can it have? okay, it needs some kind of like bulk up, or it needs some kind of like stability, it needs some sort of like something to actually give it some bulk. So in my head, I was thinking maybe it could be like a giant wall of kind of like a hive, and then thousands of Combee living in there that are like lifting it up and giving it some strength or something. So that's why I've got just this random hexagonal kind of three-dimensional block of like honey essentially. I just wanted to point that out and just show that because it's kind of like interesting. Um, so here are all my initial sketches. As you can see, I've done quite a few, and I wanted to try and get a variety of ideas across to try and see if I can give Combee the upgrade that it desperately needs. Down here on the left here, I was trying to maybe think of kind of like, you know, those rounded kind of like bee nests or something that you sometimes see on Google. Trying to get that almost like cone shape, trying to get in there, and then obviously we'd have all these hexagonal openings, and then Combee can like fly in and out to be, or be shot out or something, and maybe we'd have some sort of like special move like bee shot or something, or bee sting or something, or hive shot or something like that would make it interesting. Trying to relatively keep Combee's kind of like hexagonal shape. I don't want to stray too much from Combee's original design, because it has to be, with these upgrades and form changes and stuff, it still has to look like the Pokemon that I'm trying to, you know, upgrade. It still has to look like them so people can recognize it. So I do like this idea, and I do like the inclusion of the blue here, but I just don't think it works that well as a concept. So unfortunately I had to like kind of like abandon that one. These two here are kind of sort of similar. One idea was, you know, just add more Combee, right? Make a big hive, because I think this is something what, even if Nintendo were going to upgrade Combee, I think this is sort of kind of the lackluster, kind of boring idea that they would do. And this is what these initial ideas and initial sketches are for. They're about getting your, well, your initial ideas out onto the page and getting all the shit and crap ideas out of your head so that you can then move on to the more developed and better sketches. So these two designs here kind of spawn from the same idea of just adding more Combee, but on this one on the left here, I thought maybe you could have an open section to try and give the illusion that this hive is a lot deeper than you might think. It's quite big and 3D and chunky, and you got all these like Combee held together by this like thick gooey honey that's like holding them tightly together. And you got this opening here that again is another build on this idea of shooting Combee out of this like hexagonal opening. And then this one's just the same, except they're all just kind of like linked together with honey. So those are interesting. I like those ones. And this one down here, this was inspired by, after a little bit of research on Google, after looking at a lot of like the hives and stuff, because a lot of them, when you search, well, when you Google beehives, you can see all these like wooden beehives. So I thought maybe an upgrade or a form change or an evolution could be like a bunch of Combee living in an actual like man-made hive. I think that'd be interesting. It would have this like wooden encasing, and that's holding them all together, and then obviously this is just all honey, and then all these faces are actually multiple Combee keeping it up together, and then you got these wings that are sticking out, which would be kind of interesting actually. But I think the design's a bit too boring. It's a bit too rigid. There's not much fluidity. But you know, that's what these initial sketches are for. But I do like these ideas. I think these are some pretty solid ideas. If I'd maybe built on them a little bit more, they could have been better. But I think that my final design that you saw at the beginning was a lot better. But those are my initial kind of like designs. Let's have a look here. Here we go. Sorry about that. Here we go. Here's some like developed designs here. Because another idea I actually had was, I thought, alright, instead of like actually just making it out of Combee itself, I thought, why not I just move on to an actual beehive itself? Like, well, what is a hive made out of? It's made out of honey that the bees actually produce. So why not make a Combee evolution that's made of an actual hive, but also made out of honey? I think that would be really, really interesting. So that's kind of what I did on the left here. It would still kind of try and maintain that Combee kind of like shape, trying to keeping that Combee aesthetic, keeping that Combee shape, but kind of like changing up in a way where it's more of an upgrade or an evolution to Combee. And so you still have this kind of like three Combee kind of shape, but it's actually a hive, and it's made of honey, and it's like drooping and dripping all this honey, and even the wings are made out of honey. And you'd have these three openings here, which again thousands of Combee could like fly out and shoot out, which could be a special kind of like move or something that it could have. But when I showed that to somebody to get some feedback on it, they didn't really like it that much, and I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, at least I like the idea of it actually being made out of honey. So I went away and I actually made this sketch on the right here, actually, which I think is pretty cool, actually. Again, it's a lot more simplified. It still keeps that same nice Combee shape. It's combining the honey element. It's combining the four wings here. It's still maintaining those like happy Combee shapes. It's still maintaining the hexagonal shape, and it still, again, essentially looks like Combee. It also kind of looks like the Adventure Time bee, but you know, that's besides the point. I'm really happy with this design. I'm glad I went through all these terrible initial sketches and designs to get to this point, because I think this strikes the balance in between. It's simple enough that it doesn't need to have any more additional details on it, but it's also complicated enough where it looks like an evolution, it looks like an upgrade, it looks like something that would naturally evolve from a male only Combee evolution. I like that, you know, all the hexagonals are there. I've got them all arranged. It's all perfect. You know, you've still got the faces. Like I said, I've still got the honey element that I brought in from the other ideas. I think it just looks really nice and clean. It's simple. When you're trying to create ideas, you know, people think that cartoons and you know, stuff like that is pretty easy to do. But on the contrary, simple designs are the most difficult to do. It's easy just to embellish designs with like unneeded details and unneeded artifacts that just kind of clutter up the design. But when you're trying to design something like Combee, who is relatively simple in of itself, and then you're trying to create a design that's an upgrade, that's a little bit more complicated, but also trying to still maintain that simplicity, it's a lot more difficult than you actually might think. But I think I've managed to find you know, a point, or strike a point at which, like, you know, it's simple but also developed, you know, and I'm really happy with it. So I'll just show you the final and shiny forms again. I'm pretty happy with this final form. I think that the colors work together really well. It looks like it's actually made out of honey. It's got the right amount of kind of like shines and kind of like gloopiness and honeyness that you would expect. Again, still maintains that Combee shape. I think that the colours work really well. I've got some browns here, got some reds here, got some bright yellows, got some whites here. I did a little bit of extra details to these wings here, actually making them look a little bit more like actual like bee wings, you know, because if you've ever actually looked at insect or bee wings specifically, you can see like they've got these like little veins in between them. So I just wanted to add a little bit more texture and a little bit more design, I guess, to the wings to make them a little bit more ornate. But other than that, I really like the way this came out. I really like the colours, I like everything about it, and I really like all these like happy little faces, and that one little angry one in the middle. I'm really happy with this. And again, what I'm more happy with is how well the shiny looks. This is a shiny I would 100% want. I've always said this before, but I only make things that I would particularly like or that I particularly want, and I'm really happy with the shiny form. I think it's a really nice pink colour. I don't think there's many, well, I mean, there's a lot of like pink shinies, but none like this specific pink, I don't think. But anyway, regardless, I really like the shiny. I think it works really well. And whether you have the original or whether you have the shiny form, I think it's just a really nice design personally. But let me know what you think. Do you like this original? Do you like the shiny better? Do you think the shiny should be a different color? What would you color it? You know, what would you come up with an idea? If someone said to you, if your job is to upgrade and make an evolution for Combee, what would you do? And on that note, I'm calling this evolution to Combee, which will be male locked, by the way, so you would actually have a reason to catch a male Combee. I'm calling it Combee Hive form. And it kind of works similar to Wishy-Washy Schooling, where thousands of its kind of comrades come together to create one big Wishy-Washy, but except a lot of Combee, when they evolve, male Combee they evolve, they turn into Combee Hive form, which is pretty interesting. Do you think that works, or do you think another name would work better? But I'm really happy with this. So why don't I go on and tell you the Pokedex entry for Combee Hive form. Combee Hive form. Male locked. Abilities: Gooey and Sticky Hold. Hidden ability: Pressure. Due to the hive viscosity of the honey they collect, these individual Combee hives have become stuck together. Their defense is an airtight, solid block of hive members that is nigh on impossible to break through. However, as they are stuck together, they cannot move to gather honey efficiently anymore. They are instead fed honey by more agile members of the hive to bolster their toughness, and because of this, they are incorporated into the actual structure of the hive. So that's the kind of Pokedex entry for Combee Hive form. I think it's pretty interesting. I can just imagine like a bunch of these like smaller Combees of a hive bringing this honey, and then the camera kind of pans and you see this like these massive walls of Combee just being stuck together, and he's bringing this honey and feeds them, and it bolsters their defense and makes them even more gooey, more sticky. I think that's pretty interesting. I think that'd make for a pretty interesting kind of like little cinematic cut there. But in terms of its abilities, it's pretty amazing, I think. Gooey is awesome. Gooey is actually the ability of Goomy and Goodra, I believe, which when you make contact with an enemy Pokemon, it slows down their speed, I believe so. Don't quote me on that though. Which I think is pretty great, because ultimately this new form of Combee would have lesser speed than the original Combee stats, which is like 70 base speed. This new one would have around maybe 30 base speed, so it would be around about as fast as an Aggron, but it would actually have way more defense than ever before. It would have something like base 185 defense with something like 50 HP, and then maybe something like maybe its physical and its special would be the same, so maybe more like 40 or 50 attack and 50 special attack, something like that. And then obviously its and its special defense would be pretty good as well. It'd be something like base 70 special defense, so it would make for a pretty great tank and a pretty great wall. You know, like I said, with all the gooiness and stickiness, it'd be great. Like if you make contact with it, it will slow you down. So then maybe Combee, you can force a speed tie or something like that. Its other ability, Sticky Hold, is pretty thematically perfect, really. And with its massive defenses, you can give this thing the leftovers, and then it won't be able to be taken away. So you can't thief it away, which would be amazing. And it can just keep getting more and more HP, and you can give it moves like Toxic and stuff like that. I was discussing with my friend that, you know, what moves would it actually learn, and we were saying like it could learn Toxic, it can learn Block to stop you from escaping, it can learn Bug Bite, Dual Wing Beat, it can learn Roost for recovery, stuff like that. Heal Order, Defend Order, stuff like that. A lot of really great moves. You know, U-turn I think would be great to give this guy. So yeah, and then obviously its other ability, Pressure, is just perfect. Now that is the ability of Vespiquen, but I think this Hive form would work so much better for Combee. You know, because of its massive defenses, it can actually make use of Pressure. Stupid Pokemon like Absol getting Pressure doesn't make any sense because they have no defensive kind of like capabilities at all. So Pressure is just completely wasted on them. And sort of like the legendary Kanto birds, they all have Pressure. Half of the legendaries have Pressure that doesn't fucking make any sense at all. But with something like this that has actually either massive special defense or massive defense, can actually make use of Pressure. That's why Pressure Dusclops is so good, and I think Combee Hive form would be perfect for using Pressure. So all three abilities are amazing for this guy, so no matter which one you get, you can always do something with it and give it, you know, the leftovers for recovery, stuff like that. We were also discussing the fact that when Combee evolves into this Hive form, it should actually lose its flying typing and maintain just being a pure bug. I think that's so much better. Bug flying is not an inherently terrible typing at all. I mean, it is weak to a lot of stuff, but it's not unusable. But it being pure bug cuts out all of its flying weaknesses at all. Altogether, sorry. And I think that's a much better type for it, actually. It loses its flying typing, but it can still learn moves, like I said, like with Roost, which will give it way more recovery options. And also, you know, you can do the stuff like Wish Passing and stuff. So I think this would be a pretty great, pretty thematic, and pretty amazing upgrade for Combee. Again, like I said, this will be male locked as well, so it would actually give people a reason to use Combee. Like, Combee is a cute Pokemon, and it's just a real shame that there's a lot of Pokemon like this that just have terrible stats that don't get any kind of buffs through any of the generations, whether they're in or whether they appear in afterwards. And Combee is an example. It's just kind of a lackluster bug flying Pokemon when there's so much better bug flying. Why use Combee when you can either use the much better Vespiquen, or you can use Butterfree or any other bug flying type, for that matter. So that's kind of why I designed this. So what do you guys think? Do you like Combee Hive Form? Would you actually use Combee Hive Form? Because I personally would. You know, I always like taking lackluster Pokemon and giving them the upgrades they deserve, and I think this is a perfect thematic upgrade for male Combee. So, like I said, what do you think? Leave your comments in the section. You know, leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next episode, whenever that'll be. Bye! Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my work around. I'll see you next time.